Hey guys, welcome to chapter 6. This section is going to be on testing. Now you don't have to do any kind of testing when you're developing on Rails. If it's a large site and it has a lot of different functions, a lot of different models and associations and validations, then you probably should run some tests. There's different engines you can use. RSpec is a really popular one. In this tutorial, I'm just going to show you how to run some unit tests, and you'll see I'm not in Windows anymore. I'm in Linux Ubuntu, just because I don't want to mess around with the app that we've built. So I have pretty much exact copy of it. Well, it is an exact copy, maybe from a different time because I got it off the GitHub repository, but basically the same thing. We have pgadmin running, same thing really. So I'm going to go to my terminal and I'm going to go to my Ruby blog, and I'm going to start up the server just to make sure everything's good. And I'm going to go into Chrome. And we want to go to localhost 3000. Alright, so you'll see it's the same. I mean, I think the only difference is here is I didn't get to do the comments. Actually, I did. Yeah, so it's basically, this is the same app. So what I want to do is I want to have a separate database for my tests. The way we have it set up now, we have our app set up now, is all three environments, development, production, and tests, are all running on the same database. And we did that because that's what Heroku recommends, because we have a separate remote database. But I'm going to create a test database for us, and we can do that easily with pgadmin. And you see we have the MyRuby blog. I'm going to actually create a new database, and I'm going to call it MyRuby blog test. And I'm going to keep the same owner, same credentials. So now we have a test database, and we have no tables in it yet. You see, if we have 0 tables. We're actually going to do a migration into the test database. So I want to go into my app folder, and we want to go to config database.yml, and this is our environments, our 3 setups, and you can see they're all the same. They all have the same database. We're going to just change the test environment to use the test database, and that should be good if we save that. Now, a lot of developers say you should do testing before your app is finished or while in development, and it really doesn't have to go that way, especially with smaller apps. Because you'll see if we go into our app and we go into tests and unit, we already have these test stubs set up for us for each resource that we have: comments, category, users, and posts. So if we open up posts, and we have this, we went over this in the previous video, and in the document we require the test helper file, and then we can run our tests in here, and we actually have this sample test if we want to uncomment it, called the truth, that we can run. So let's save that, and we want a new terminal. So we want to first make sure we're up to date with our database. So we want to run rake db migrate. So it looks like it's updated because we didn't get nothing back. And we want to prepare our test database. So if we do rake db test load, alright, so what it says here is that my Ruby blog test is being accessed by other users, so it didn't do anything. So what that's from is the PG admin. So I'm going to actually exit out of here and do this again, and hopefully it works for us. Okay, so now it looks like it went good. So if we go back into PG admin and connect to our server, and then we can see we'll go to the MyRuby blog test database, and we have our 7 tables. So that went good. So now our test database is identical to our development database, and that's what we want. So now we can actually run that test. We have that the truth test, which is just a sample test that we can run. So if this is how we would run a test. We do Ruby itest, and then we want to put in the unit, test unit, and post test, I think is the name of the stub. And I think we're going to get some errors here, and I'll tell you about that after. Let's just see what happens. I think we're going to get an error. Yeah. So you can see this is what shows up after the test is run. And if we go up here, you can see what happened is what it was doing is trying to insert some data, and what it's saying is the column author ID of the post, of the relation posts, does not exist. So the column, the author ID column is not, it's not there, and it thinks it should be. And the reason why is if we go into, let's go into our folder, and if we go into test fixtures, now remember fixtures allow us to organize all of our tests. So we have a fixture for each resource, and if we go into posts, you can see it has the different columns, and it still has author ID. Now in the last chapter when we installed ActiveAdmin, we changed author ID to admin user ID. So that's what we want to put here, admin user ID, because there is no author ID. And if we save that, and one other thing I want to check out is if we go to test and then fixtures, and then we want to open the admin users fixture, and we just want to comment these two empty fixtures. Okay, and save that, and now if we go back and run, we should get a pass. Right, so now we ran the test and we have 0 errors. What I want to do now is a validation test. So I'm going to actually clear out the test for the posts, and what I want to do is add a validator to the post model. I want to make the title required. So if we were to post from the front end, the title would be required. As it is now, we're using ActiveAdmin, so we really don't need to specify it, but if we would, we need to go to models. We need to go to models post, and we just need to add a validator. We want to do validates, is it name? Or I think, yeah, title. We want to validate the title, and that's going to be present true. Alright, so that just means that the post if it's submitted on the front end, the title has to be there. It's the presence has to be there. It has to be true. So let's save that, and now we'll write a test for that. So we wanted to define the tests. So we just want to do test, and then we can give it a name. We'll just say if title is there, and we want to do. Now in that block, we don't want a variable. I don't usually work with Sublime Text with this editor, so sorry if I make any mistakes. So we want to do if the title is there, do, and we want post equals post.new, and I want the title. And we'll first check it without a title, which should fail. And we've got to do our assert. We want to do assert post.valid. We're checking if it's there or not. And that should do it. So if we save that, and we can go back and run. Actually, let me clear this out. And now we're going to run this. We're just going to run the iTest and then the post-test RB file. And this should fail. Looks like we made a mistake somewhere. Require syntax, expected keyword, title, presence, true. Oh, I'm sorry. We need to go back to the model. No, that looks good. Oh, sorry. We need a comma right here. Yeah, that should work. Alright, so let's save that and try it again. So you see we have one failure. One test, one failure. Now if we go back to the test and we give it a title, and then save it, run it again, and now we have one test, 0 failures. So it's just testing to see if that's valid. Now I want to do something else. I want to add another validator here. I want to add a validator that says that the body of the post has to be at least 10 characters. So how we do that is we do validates. It's going to be the body field, and we want I'm sorry, it needs to be validates length of body. Validates length of body, and we want a minimum of 10 characters. So let's save that. Now if we go back to the test, what I'm going to do is write another test. I'm going to leave that one there and write another one. So let's do if body is long enough. Alright, so let's do post equals post.new. Now, remember, we have that validator for the title that it has to be, it's required. It can't be blank. So that means when we run this test, we have to have the title. If the title is blank in this query here, then it's going to fail. So we have to add a title. Actually, first I'll show you it without that. So if we do just the body, and let's do I want it to actually have more than 10 characters. So this is the post body, and then we want to do assert post dot valid. So if we save that now we have 2 tests and 2 failures. Now both of these are actually going to fail because the title is required and the body has to be more than 10. And in this test, the body isn't more than 10, it's not even there. And in this test, the title isn't there. So they're both going to fail. In order for them not to fail, we want to just do, we want to add in a body. And then in here, we want to add the name. Whoop. We want a comma there. Alright, so let's run that. And now we have 2 tests, 0 failures, 1 error. 0 skips. I'm not sure what the error is, but we are passing. See, if I remove the body here and run it, well, we should have an error, failure. So 2 tests, 1 failure. I'm not sure what that error is. There's no message, but the test is passing. Oh, I see the error. We put name instead of title. So let's put the body back there and let's make this pass without any kind of errors. Title. Alright, so we should have 2 pass tests. Good. No failures, no errors. Now, you're probably looking at this and thinking what I'm about to do. There's no sense really in having both of these. What I would do here is say if title is there and body is long enough. And then just get rid of this, because if we run that, that should pass. So that passed. Now if we take, let's just have this. Remember, the body is supposed to be 10 characters, so this should fail. One failure. So those are some validator and model tests. You can also test controllers, which I will do real quick. So I can actually get out of the post-test file, and I'm going to leave the validators there as well. We're using ActiveAdmin, so it's alright, but it doesn't hurt to leave them there. So if we go to our test directory and we go to functional, these are all our controller test file, where we can test all our controllers, and we can test page requests and stuff like that. So let's go to our post controller test. And I'm going to run a request to get the index of the post resource, or the post controller. And we want to do that with test. They're laid out the same way as if we were testing our models. So let's do should get index. And we want to say get index and assert response. And that should be success. And assert, make sure it's not nil. And that assigns, and we should put posts. So what this is doing is just making sure that the index method of the post controller is accessible. So if we save that, so if we go to our command line, we should be able to do Ruby itest and then test. And we're not in the unit folder anymore. Remember, we're in the functional, because the functional folder is where we do our controller testing. So we want functional and then posts controller test.rb, and let's run it. Alright, so 1 test, 0 failures. We do have an error. Let me just double check everything here. So that does look good. I'm not exactly sure what the error is, but the test is passing. And I'm not going to go too much deeper than this into testing. My goal was to just show you what it is and how it works and what's possible. There's a whole bunch of different frameworks for testing. There's RSpec and there's a few other good ones. But test-driven development is optional with Rails, obviously. We built a whole app without it. If you're going to be building more intricate apps, I'd definitely suggest reading up on more advanced testing than we've done here. But this video is getting kind of long, so I will see you in the next video, which I believe is the deployment in the last video, I believe. So I'll see you there.